The weight of the task sets in as she desperately tries to recall the complex order required to trigger the ancient mechanism. Drawing on her memories of Qin Feng's previous actions, she begins to retrace his exact steps to finally unlock the seal and release the sleeping power. Following a complex pattern from a past life, the girl begins activating the glowing stones with unnatural precision and confidence. She is struck by how vivid these ancient memories remain, feeling as though time itself has preserved this knowledge specifically for this moment. Emboldened by her success, she begins to believe that even the gods are conspiring to aid her in her quest for justice. With the path finally clear, she vows to eliminate the shadow and reclaim the legacy that was rightfully stolen from her. As she continues the ritual, she reflects on her past life with Qin Feng, recalling a time when he acted as her devoted protector and provider. However, the warmth of those memories is quickly replaced by the cold reality of her current life, where she feels he cruelly left her to fend for herself. Fueled by her affection for Song Fei and a growing sense of resentment, she begins to justify her betrayal as a response to Qin Feng's perceived neglect. With a final surge of anger, she resolves to prove her independence, determined to reach the top of this world without ever needing his help again. Embracing a newfound sense of self, she rejects every label and expectation that once held her back in her previous life. Just before Qin Zhaoyu entered the hidden room, a violent explosion shook the ruins of Zhonghai City. Nearby, a fist wrapped in red lightning smashed into a winged woman before she could react. The brutal impact sent her hurtling through the wreckage, her screams echoing across the battlefield. Then Qin recognized her, the Deathwing Angel, the same powerful boss Shadow had placed a bounty on. But if she was here, something far more dangerous had to be nearby. Furious and terrified, the injured man blamed Shadow for dragging them into this deadly mess and cursed him without restraint. Unfortunately for him, Shadow was standing right behind him and calmly asked who he was insulting. The man immediately panicked. After realizing who had arrived, he changed his attitude and desperately begged Shadow to kill the Deathwing Angel. Shadow coldly ordered the coward to find a hole and hide. The man obeyed at once, while Shadow stepped toward the far greater threat. Meanwhile, a crimson-winged creature hovered above the ruins as countless glowing souls gathered around it. The Deathwing Angel absorbed their power, pleased that even short human lives could produce such strong souls. At this rate, once everyone gathered in the city center, she would finally complete her evolution. But just as her plan neared completion, a mysterious blue soul suddenly raced across the battlefield straight toward the city. Before the Deathwing Angel could complete her evolution, Shadow slipped through her defenses and struck from behind. She sensed the danger, but by then, it was already too late. Shadow unleashed instant Shadow Slash, throat cut, tearing through her with a terrifying 6.7 million damage. Stunned by the impossible attack, the Deathwing Angel realized that someone had reached this level less than a month after the God-forsaken game descended upon Blue Star. The survivors erupted with hope when the boss finally lost health and Shadow appeared. Yet one man noticed something terrifying: there had been no sign of an attack at all. Even the Deathwing Angel was shaken. Her reaction ability still had time remaining, but Shadow had somehow struck without revealing his skill, proving how frightening Blue Star's strongest player had become. Shadow calmly measured her 60 million health and 20 million defense, then unleashed his finishing move, Endless Nightmare. The world around the Deathwing Angel twisted into darkness as countless demonic eyes opened behind her. For the first time, the boss looked truly afraid. The Deathwing Angel froze as she recognized the weapon emerging from Endless Nightmare. Before she could respond, a flash of purple light reflected in her eye. Shadow was already moving. His instant Shadow Slash tore across her throat, dealing another devastating 7 million damage. She barely endured the strike and furiously condemned Shadow's underhanded tactics. But his nightmare creatures were already closing in for the next attack. Enraged, the Deathwing Angel spread her wings and released all the power she had been holding back. Her heavenly rays rained across the battlefield, forcing the survivors to flee as the entire city vanished beneath blinding light. Shadow crossed his arms and faced the storm head-on, purple energy shielding him from the relentless barrage. When the light finally faded, he was still standing. Worse for the angel, he looked ready to strike back. Shadow suddenly charged through the remaining rays, using his purple aura to tear straight through the attack. Before the Deathwing Angel could escape, the sky turned crimson and a monstrous shadow formed above the battlefield. The enormous figure raised its weapon while the angel hovered helplessly in its path. Shadow unleashed his second finishing move, Scarlet Blade, and a colossal red slash came crashing down upon her. The Deathwing Angel survived Scarlet Blade, but she knew Shadow would eventually wear her down. Desperate, she flew higher while wondering why her mysterious green-skinned allies still had not arrived. Shadow noticed that she never returned to her original spawn point, proving she had not appeared here naturally. Someone had deliberately lured her into the city. Only a Soul Walker could maintain a boss's aggression and survive long enough to bring her this far. Shadow finally understood that another enemy had been controlling the battle from the shadows. The hidden Soul Walker was finally revealed as Osirio. Realizing Shadow's strongest abilities were on cooldown, he prepared to seize the Deathwing Angel's bloodline for himself. Wrapped in purple energy, Osirio launched himself toward the city to make his move. Below, the survivors panicked and rushed for the city gates, terrified that they would be caught in the coming battle. Just when escape seemed impossible, a red-haired woman appeared above the crowd and guided everyone toward another path, but no one knew where it truly led. The woman claimed she had prepared a teleportation array to carry everyone out of the city, calmly organizing the frightened survivors into a line. Relieved, the crowd rushed onto the glowing formation and praised their beautiful rescuer for her kindness. She accepted their gratitude with a smile, but her unfinished words hinted that something was terribly wrong. The formation suddenly turned pink, revealing itself as a slave contract array. As the survivors became trapped, the woman coldly reminded them that they would now spend their lives serving her. As the array remained active, its charm grew stronger until the trapped survivors lost their minds and began worshipping the woman completely. While her new slaves surrendered to the spell, she looked toward the sky and remembered her fallen brother. Surrounded by an army of enchanted followers, she vowed to take Shadow's head and offer it in her brother's memory. But from the ruins nearby, a mysterious figure was already watching her every move. After watching from the shadows, the mysterious figure stepped through the remains of the charm array and quietly signaled the others to move. A group of masked fighters emerged behind him. With Shadow and the Deathwing Angel already weakened, their leader decided it was finally time to enter the battle.